And we're live. What's going on, sports fans? Ryan here. This is the DFS 5 back. If you don't mind, click the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the station if you're new to it. We are here today to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Chicago Bears. We're going to go through the DraftKings Showdown captain mode type of format. It's the only NFL game going tonight. So what else would we be talking about? Before we get into that, a couple things to bring up. One, the NFL Week 5 video is already out. So go give that a little look-see if you're interested for the main slate. Two, the Titans-Bills game is now a little bit up in the air due to the COVID situation. So I just wanted people to make sure that they are double checking their fantasy lineups tonight. I know I brought this up on the baseball video for myself as well, but like I was looking at one of my teams where I have Derrick Henry and Stephon Diggs on it, but like I have Montgomery sitting on the bench currently. But knowing that Henry and Diggs might not be playing, I have to weigh the decision. Do I want to put Montgomery in my lineup? In like a flex situation. I'm not super excited about it, but I'm not super excited about not having Henry or Diggs either. So just weigh your options, make smart decisions. I just wanted to give people a heads up just in case they kind of forgot about that. I know that's something I've done in the past. You just kind of forget about the Thursday night football game and how it could affect your year-long lineup. So throw that out there for you guys a little bit. The other thing to bring up is this overlay matchup shot that we talk about pretty much every day anyway. Starting to be a large part of the questions that we field. Do you have any good matchups for today? I know yesterday went very well. Won the 5 guys. Giancarlo Stanton, homered again. He was straight up money against Urshela, which felt like easy money. Charlie Morton over Tanaka had some good plays yesterday. It's a really good way to get involved, and they got formats up for all the sports going. I'm not a golf guy, but they even have that up there. I would highly encourage checking it out. Yesterday, I did a video talking about David Montgomery over Allen Robinson because you got 9 points. It's down to 6.5 right now. I don't like that one quite as much. Either way, if you've considered playing on overlay, you've heard us mention them for over a year now. Go make your initial deposit. Sign up. After making that initial deposit, screenshot it and send it to me. I will give you a free 5-pack membership. How length of membership will equate to how big your deposit is, quite frankly. A $50 deposit, 2 weeks, $1,000 deposit, free lifetime. $500 annual, $100 deposit free month. The matchup shop is going to continue to blow up. It's a nice combination of sports betting and fantasy sports. Give it a whirl. I think you'll like it. All right, like I said, sub to the channel if you're new to it. Let's talk about the DK plays tonight. Let's start with Keyshawn Vaughn of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So LaShawn McCoy is out. He is not playing this evening. Fournette has been downgraded to doubtful. So it looks like he also won't be in, leaving the Buccaneers down to basically 2 running backs and Ronald Jones and Keyshawn Vaughn. Now, they drafted this guy fairly early on for a reason. He is a guy that is going to be viable in the passing game. He had 3 carries last week, a couple of targets, if I remember correctly, caught one and scored on it, which is why he actually has some fantasy points per game to talk about. He's the top piece for cap space. I mean, he is literally almost free at $1,000. So I expect him to be wildly popular this evening. I think a lot of people use this for cap space. Do you want to captain him? That's not the route that I'm going to go. You can captain him and then play 5 of the top 6 players in the slate. I believe it works out. So it is a potential build, probably not where I would go because there's other low-cost guys I like. So I would assume captain a better player that I know has a bigger piece of the offense. But I don't think you're insane to go that route. It would allow you to get both quarterbacks, the top wide receivers, everything that goes into it. It's just not specifically how I'm going to play my main lineup on the slate. There's the other thing to talk about with him is he is viable in the passing game. Is it potential for a breakout spot? Maybe. They're also shorthanded at wide receiver. O.J. Howard is out, so they may need to get him involved. Maybe he runs a couple plays out of the slot or something like that. You never really know. Tampa Bay is very shorthanded heading into this game and potentially even more shorthanded. We got guys like Evans and Scotty Miller still listed as questionable. So pay attention to what the Buccaneers have, but he should have at least a little bit of a role. And Ronald Jones, despite having 9 targets and 6 catches last week, did drop those other 3 pass attempts. And he's a guy that's been known to fall out of favor. He won't completely lose his run tonight. There's no way because they're shorthanded already, but just something to keep your eyes peeled on. All right, next up, Tom Brady. I'm pretty sure most of you guys have heard of this guy before. He may have won and appeared in a couple of Super Bowls. Look, no way, no how would I be targeting Tom Brady without all of his best weapons against a good defense in the Chicago Bears on the main slate. But as we say on most Showdown videos, this ain't a main slate. It is one game, and of all the guys playing in this game, he is the only one 100% guaranteed to be in the Hall of Fame on his first vote probably with 100% vote too. So, like, yes, get Tom Brady into your lineup. He is kind of the Occam's razor, keep it simple, stupid play of the day. It's, I don't expect him to blow up or anything right here. I kind of expect this game to be a little bit more defensive oriented. But again, it is a showdown slate, and he is Tom freaking Brady. Yes, I want him. He is a guy I consider for the captain spot. We'll see how healthy his boys are. That's how healthy the rest of his teammates are has a lot to do with how my desire to captain him. Like, if Mike Evans all of a sudden isn't playing, like, I have a lower desire to use Tom Brady in the captain spot because I think that limits his ability to go off and things like that. But he's got 100% certainty to make my main lineup. Next up, Darnell Mooney of the Chicago Bears is 4,600. So, he's not having a monster season or anything like that, but we've noticed a big uptick in his targets the last 2 games, and there's 2 reasons that could be contributing factors to that one. One, Tariq Cohen's out. Tariq Cohen is not the top piece of this offense, but he was a piece. And without him involved in the passing game and the running game, that opens up, some targets for a couple other guys. The other thing is, Mitch Trubisky's out, Nick Foles comes in. Maybe Foles just has more chemistry and likes him a little bit more. That's possible. Maybe this is all just a coincidence and he goes back to only seeing a couple of targets per game. That's also potentially possible. But I think at 4,600, he gives you a good potential upside on his price right here. The questionable tag that he's being hit with right now, I mean, it even says it right there in DK, so you don't have to do a ton of research on it. It's more like a probable tag. He is almost without certainty going to play tonight, so I'm not overly concerned about his availability. Next up, speak of the devil, we got Mike Evans. Now, I fully expect Mike Evans to play, but I would encourage everybody to watch his availability, one, but also how healthy is he? Is he out there as like a Julio Jones Monday Night Football type of situation where it's more of a decoy? It's possible. It's not what I expect, but I won't be setting my final lineup until I know more about his. This is one that you're going to want to watch the pregame story on him. I'm very likely to use him no matter what, but again, do you want to captain a guy who's maybe a little bit hobbled? Probably not. This cat scored in every game so far this year. He's clearly the best skill position player the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have tonight with Chris Godwin out. So, I mean, he is a red zone focal point. With O.J. Howard out, that's just another guy that could potentially eat into his red zone targets. The Bears do rank near the top of the list against wide receivers this year from a DFS perspective. The flip side of that is we know that they're good. I don't know if they're that good. They could rank near the top, one, because quite frankly, they've been behind in some games and people haven't thrown as well, and they haven't played a lot. The opening game, they got down, so Detroit tried to run the clock a little bit, and there was no Galladay, so they just weren't very strong at wide receiver. The Falcons had a lot of success against the Bears, the wide receivers in the first half before they, completely went all ATL. So I don't know how good the Bears are against wide receivers right now. I would theorize that they're above average, but I don't know if they're as good as statistics bear out. So I think it's intriguing to watch what Mike Evans can do here today, but he's really good. And this is a guy that I want in my lineup, unless I hear like that he's on a snap count, which is not what I expect, but it's worth keeping your eyes peeled on this one and keeping your ears open because the Buccaneers are not running at full speed tonight. And depending on his availability has a lot to do with how much faith I have in their offense. Last up, Cordarrelle Patterson of the Chicago Bears is 2,200. I would reiterate, this is GPP only. We have better, more consistent plays for cheap cap space in this game. Hence, Vaughn, for example, that we brought up right away, that you don't have to use Patterson in like a cash game format. However, in a GPP format, he's not a guy I expect to get a lot of love. So if you're looking to catch lightning in a bottle, you're looking to differentiate yourself from the crowd, when you're playing these showdown GPP type of formats, you got to get a little bit different if you want to not tie 900 other people up top if you are fortunate to get that far up there. And Patterson's the kind of guy that can do that. He did not see an increased role in week 4. I was curious to see if he took a little bit of that Cohen role. Through one game, he hasn't. Doesn't mean he will or he won't tonight, but we definitely don't feel better about him based on what we saw him do in week 4 without Tariq Cohen. Doesn't mean that doesn't change tonight. I'm just saying it wasn't encouraging, which that will also cut into his ownership. I think another idea, and especially if you multi-enter GPPs, what happens if David Montgomery gets hurt? Then he's in a line for a lot more carries. He's a big guy that can see goal line carries in that situation. So there is that. And while you never want to bank on an injury, we've seen a lot of them this year, right? Like we're seeing running backs and wide receivers, hamstrings. Every 5 seconds, it seems like somebody's limping off. So I'm not going to bank on a David Montgomery injury, but it definitely feels like more of a possibility than it has in any other year in the past. He's going to have a little bit of a role no matter what. That's a possible way for him to get an even significantly bigger role. Again, I don't want to bank on that, but we've seen a lot of injuries this year. Even Montgomery, he left the second week for, I believe he was gone for almost a full quarter. So, again, it's a GPP play. It's not a guy I would put in a captain spot. It's not a guy I would put in a cash game. But he's a guy I feel like you can get a relatively low ownership, and he is explosive. It's not crazy to think he takes a bubble screen to the house. I mean, this has been one of the more explosive return men in the history of football, and he's not quite as quick as he once was, but he's still a big play guy who could, pay off value on one type of like bubble screen type of play. So that's what I got for today, guys. I want to wish everybody the best of luck this evening. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button, sign up for Overlay, and send me that screenshot. Let's go win some money tonight, fellas. Have a great day.